Hello and welcome to this continuing third look exploring session looking at The Old Wives' Tale by George Peele. We previously got 2/3 of the way through. We have got some business with a big giant head coming up any minute now, and we are rattling on into the Eumenides plot as well, which may or may not be resolved as Madge does or does not get the story right. We are continuing our question of how much needs to be explained or adapted for an audio adaptation, and also, as well, just thinking about fun staging stuff as well. So we have in the room, we have Olga, we have Eric, we have Tom, we have Liza, we have Anna Rose, and I'm your host Robert. And we're going to go from the latter end of the text with Zantippa and Celanta, and I suggest that Olga, could you be Zantippa, and Anna Rose, could you be Celanta? And Liza, could be you be the big giant head. That I think how far we will go. Oh no, I'll go a little further. Eric, you can be Juanabango when we get to that, and that will get us through the first opening gambit of that. So the two brothers and Delia and Sacripant have exited, and we have the entrance of Zantippa, the cursed daughter to the well, with a pot in her hand.
Now for a husband, house and home, God send a good one or none, I pray God. My father hath sent me to the well for the water of life, and tells me, if I give fair words, I shall have a husband. But here comes Celanta, my sweet sister. I'll stand by and hear what she says.
Zantippa retires. Enter Celanta, the foul wench, to the well for water with a pot in her hand.
My father hath sent me to the well for water, and he tells me if I speak fair I shall have a husband, and none of the worst. Well, though I am black, I am sure all the world will not forsake me. And as the old proverb is, though I am black, I am not the devil.
Marry hap with them, Maran, I know wherefore thou speakest that, but go thy ways home as wise as thou camest, or I'll set thee home with a wanion.
Here she strikes her pitcher against her sisters and breaks them both and goes her way.
I think this be the cursedest queen in the world. You see what she is, a little fair, but as proud as the devil, and the veriest vixen that lives upon God's earth. Well, I'll let her alone and go home and get another pitcher, and for all this, get me to the well for water.
Exit Celanta. Enter two furies out of the conjurer's cell and lays Juanabango by the well of life. Enter Zantippa with a pitcher to the well.
Once again for a husband, and in faith, Celanta, I have got the start of you. Belike husbands grow by the well side. Now my father says I must rule my tongue. Why, alas, what am I then? A woman without a tongue is as a soldier without his weapon, but I'll have my water and be gone.
Here she offers to dip her pitcher in, and a head speaks in the well.
Gently dip, but not too deep, for fear you make the golden beard to weep. Fair maiden, white and red, stroke me smooth and comb my head, and thou shalt have some cockle bread.
What is this? Fair maiden, white and red, comb me smooth and stroke my head, and thou shalt have some cockle bread? Cockle call'st thou it, boy? Faith, I'll give you cockle bread.
And she breaks the pitcher upon the head. Then it
Ow.
thunders and lightens, and Juanabango rises up. Juanabango is deaf and cannot hear.
Philida, Phileridos, Pamphilida, Florida, Flortos. Dub-a-dub-dub-bout, quoth the guns with a sulphurous huff snuff. Waked with the wench, pretty Pete, pretty love, and my sweet, pretty pig's knee. Just by thy side shall sit surnamed Great Juanabango. Safe in my arms will I keep thee, the threat Mars or thunder Olympus.
Oh, what greasy groom have we here? He looks as though he crept out of the backside of the well and speaks like a drum perished at the west end.
Oh, that I might, but I may not. Woe to my destiny, therefore. Kiss that I clasp, but I cannot. Tell me my destiny wherefore.
Ooh, now I have my dream. Did you never hear so great a wonder as this? 3 blue beans in a blue bladder, rattle, bladder, rattle.
I'll now set my countenance and to hear her in prose. It may be this ram rough is too rude an encounter. Let me, fair lady, if you be at leisure, revel with your sweetness, and rail upon that cowardly conjurer that hath cast me, or congealed me rather, into an unkind sleep, and polluted my carcass.
Laugh, laugh, Zantippa, thou hast thy fortune, a fool and a husband under one.
Truly, sweetheart, as I seem about some 20 years the very April of mine age.
Why, what a prating ass is this?
Her coral lips, her crimson chin, her silver teeth so white within, her golden locks, her rolling eye, her pretty parts, let them go by. Hey ho, I've wounded me, that I must die this day to see.
By God's bones, thou art a flouting knave, her coral lips, her crimson chin, cow, Wilshire.
True, my own, and my own because mine, and mine because mine. Above £1,000 in possibility, and things fitting my desire and possession, thy desire and possession.
The sort of things I ask of his lands? Love be your comfort, and cuckold be your destiny. Hear you, sir, and if you will have us, you had best say so betime.
True, sweetheart, and will royalize thy progeny with my pedigree.
And there we will pause as they exit. There are several problems with this bit structurally.
What just happened?
Right, okay, so this is the problem. We've got to somehow get across in an audio medium that someone has lost their sight and is wooing lost their hearing. Hearing this one, the next one's the sight, and is wooing someone, but he can't hear what she's saying, and that they are talking sort of cross purposes. We also have the problem, which is just the problem with the play, which is, of course, the definition of fair and foul here is charged with racial connotations. There, of Celanta is dirty with dirt, but the standard there.
Well, she
lands.
might not even be dirty. You know, she might just be a bit slovenly.
Mm.
You know, I sort of see Zantippa as a toxic influencer, and
But obviously, the way the lines lands in a way that that doesn't really work. So there's some adjustments there. Now we've got Madge. We can always give Madge some narration here, just to remind everyone. But if there are other things we can do, it's the question also: what do we do about the head? I think we need to. The big giant head needs some. We can definitely do reverb, but they also need to know it's a giant talking head that it comes out of a well, because otherwise, it's a big giant head that wants to be stroked so that it will produce,
I guess so.
Things.
You can't help having those territorial remarks somehow pronounced so that people know what's happening. And probably once again, it's our chance to see the old lady telling her tale.
Mm. I mean, it's helpful to just remind the audience of Madge and what's going on there. But I say we can't. I don't think we can avoid writing some additional dialogue here, because I don't think otherwise, from Madge and Fantastic and Frolic, or whichever ones are still in the game, to get around that. I wonder whether what's going on with Huenabango and Zantippa is there's much we could do. I don't know how much Madge can do to help key that along as well. Actually, this is one of the trickiest scenes. The next version of this scene is also one of the trickiest scenes. But in terms of there's nothing else, it's not even like we can sort of adjust some of the stage directions and give them just to Madge. It's quite fiddly what's going on here. To get the nuance across, we might need to workshop that in detail. Eric?
I was just wondering, because, Huenabango keeps going sort of safe in my arms, or, wakes with a wench, pretty love. He does have some really funny lines. But, kiss that I clasp, but I cannot. So it's kind of like, does he grab her? Is that what's going on? Because I remember discussing this.
He's sort of going, "Aha, pretty lady," and she's going, "Go, get away." And but of course he can't hear what she's saying back to him, so he's not taking visual cues very clearly. But yeah, he thinks he is some great Lothario here, and he's clearly very wrong.
But in the end, Zantippa, I quite like that she twigs that she can marry this guy and still say whatever she wants. Like at the beginning of the scene, she says, "Oh, now my father says I must rule my tongue, but alas, what am I then? A woman without tongue is as a soldier without his weapon." So she has her wish. She has a husband that she's the shrew who doesn't need to be tamed. She's got a husband who cannot hear her and therefore cannot censor her. And he has someone pretty to marry and he can't hear her, which is probably all to the good. So in a way that's kind of ableist and a bit problematic, they both get a good outcome.
And but it's also, love be your comfort and cuckold be your destiny. It's like she's not gonna there may be some, it's an interesting relationship. I'm sure it works for them.
Lovely lady.
Yeah. Okay, we'll return to these or this area of the woods anon, but we need to go back to Eumenides, the wandering knight. So we've got some Eumenides action. Liza, could you be Eumenides? And Anna Rose, could you be the ghost of Jack? Tom, could you be the hostess? And yes, I think that covers this little exchange. So enter Eumenides, the wandering knight.
Wretched Eumenides, still unfortunate, envied by fortune and forlorn by fate, here pine and die, wretched Eumenides, die in the spring, the April of thy age. Here sit thee down, repent what thou hast done. I would to God that it were ne'er begun.
Enter the ghost of Jack.
You are well overtaken, sir.
Who's that?
You are heartily well met, sir.
Forbear, I say, who is that which pincheth me?
Trusting in God, good Master Eumenides, that you are in so good health as all your friends were at the making hereof. God give you good morrow, sir. Lack you not a neat, handsome, and cleanly young lad about the age of 15 or 16 years, that can run by your horse, and, for a need, make your mastership shoes as black as ink? How say you, sir?
Alas, pretty lad, I know not how to keep myself, and much less a servant. By pretty boy, my state is so bad.
Content yourself. You shall not be so ill a master, but I'll be as bad a servant. Tut, sir, I know you, though you know not me. Are you not the man, sir, deny it if you can, sir, that came from a strange place in the land of Catita, where jackanapes flies with his tail in his mouth, to seek out a lady as white as snow and as red as blood? Have I touched you now?
Think this boy be a spirit. How knowest thou all this?
Are you not the man, sir? Deny it, if you can, sir, that gave all the money you had to the burying of a poor man, and but 1 3/2 left in your purse. Content you, sir, I'll serve you, that is flat.
Well, my lad, since thou art so importunate, I am content to entertain thee, not as a servant, but as a co-partner in my journey. But whither shall we go? For I have not any money more than 1 bare 3/2.
Well, master, content yourself, for if my divination be not out, that shall be spent in the next inn or alehouse we come to. For, master, I know you are passing hungry, therefore I'll go before and provide dinner until that you come. No doubt but you'll come fair and softly after.
Aye, go before, I'll follow thee.
But do you hear, master? Do you know my name?
No, I promise thee, not yet.
Why, I am Jack.
Exit the ghost of Jack.
Jack? Why be it so then?
Enter the hostess and Jack, setting meat on the table, and fiddlers come to play. Eumenides walks up and down and will eat no meat.
How say you, sir? Do you please to sit down?
Hostess, I thank you. I have no great stomach.
Pray, sir, what is the reason your master is so strange? Doth not this meat please him?
Yes, hostess, but it is my master's fashion to pay before he eats. Therefore, a reckoning, good hostess.
Marry, shall you? Sir, presently.
Exit hostess.
Why, Jack, what dost thou mean? Thou knowest I have not any money, therefore, sweet Jack, tell me what shall I do?
Well, master, look in your purse.
Oh, my faith, it's a folly, for I have no money.
Why, look you, master, do so much for me.
Alas, Jack, my purse is full of money.
Alas, master, does that word belong to this accident? Why, methinks I should have seen you cast away your cloak, and in a bravado dance a galliard round about the chamber. Why, master, your man can teach you more wit than this.
And re-enter the hostess.
Come, hostess, cheer up my master.
You are heartily welcome. And if it please you to eat of fat capon, a fairer bird, a finer bird, a sweeter bird, a crisper bird, a neater bird, your worship never ate of.
Thanks, my fine, eloquent hostess.
But hear you, master, one word by the way. Are you content I shall be halves in all you get in your journey?
I am, Jack. Here's my hand.
Enough, master, I ask no more.
Come, hostess, receive your money, and I thank you for my good entertainment.
Gives money.
You are heartily welcome, sir.
Come, Jack, whither go we now?
Marry, master, to the conjurer's presently.
Content, Jack. Hostess, farewell.
And they exit. Relatively straightforward, much of this. There's an interesting question for the audience at home. Do we intimate that the ghost of Jack is a ghost straight away? Obviously, we know because we read the stage direction saying ghost of Jack. But do we have, or is he just mysterious stranger who lets that piece of information out slowly? It's an interesting, it's a genuine question for a stage production. Do you have him dressed like a ghost and covered in dust or something, and all ghostly and pale, or is he just like some cheeky chappy? And it's only later on when we hear the name Jack that they go, oh, hang on. And it's the fact he won't touch his master as well. I do like that little moment. Here is my hand. Is I ask no more. There's a sort of hint that he can't. He has no physical presence. But do we let that cat out the bag straight away? Thoughts in the room. Should we tell the audience the ghost of Jack is a ghost? We saw him being buried, of course, and the audience should twig. But yeah. It only affects us, whether we give him a reverb of, when he first appears, or some effect to suggest that he's a ghost.
I think it would be good in a way because it's a lot of information for a listener to hold, and it does change how you would maybe read the character, understanding this is a conversation with a person without a body, a non-corporeal spiritual being from the netherworld. Like, that adds another dimension that you could go back and listen to the recording again, but if you want that impact in the moment, maybe it's good to have some kind of reminder.
Eric?
I do like how the sort of laws of physics, well, not laws of physics, but the laws of ghosts as we know them don't apply to this, because like the hostess can see him perfectly fine. Eumenides can see him as well. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's just interesting.
The ghost can let whoever see him if they want. We don't have to, of course, have fiddlers literally come to play. I quite like the idea of really, really bad, cafe music or something in the background there, and maybe a bit of people rhubarbing. The service here is terrible. Kind of in the background. So, in the sense that we go almost immediately from into exterior, wandering through the woods, to we're in a Parisian cafe somewhere or something like that. it's suddenly we're somewhere else, and it's a very weird, strange thing. But otherwise, relatively straightforward. So it's a big question, but it's a relatively straightforward thing to do either way. Gives money. We've got a money bag going clink clonk. That's fine. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? I do really love the Ghost of Jack sequence. I think it's in a sense it's one of the most accessible stories because we sort of have this story. It features more than some of the earlier ones in modern life. The ghost who pays your bills. I don't know. Is that really a thing?
It's folktale anthology. People call it the Grateful Dead.
Yes.
Which is where the band got its name.
Okay. Let us return to the well and the two sisters and the two people who were attacked by Sacripant earlier. So we have. Depending on your edition, of course, we're going with this is Booby, though their name can also be Corybus. There is a name confusion in the original text. There are two characters called Corybus, but they are almost certainly two separate characters, and so sometimes they are renamed. This one is renamed Booby because of a passing reference to that is his name. Little footnote there. Anyway, enter Booby and Celanta, the foul wench, to the well for water. Celanta remain the same. Who's free? Eric, you can be Booby, and Liza remain the head. Tom, you can be the second head.
Come, my duck, come. I have now got a wife. Thou art fair, art thou not?
I forget who was Celanta. Was that Anna Rose?
Sorry, I had a power cord issue, but yeah, sorry. I'm Celanta. Thank you.
Booby, give the line in again, please.
Come, my duck, come. I have now got a wife. Thou art fair, art thou not?
My Corybus, the fairest alive, make no doubt of that.
Come, wench, are we almost at the well?
Aye, Corybus, we are almost at the well now. I'll go fetch some water. Sit down while I dip my pitcher in.
And a head comes up with ears of corn, and she combs them in her lap.
Gently dip, but not too deep, for fear you make the golden beard to weep. Fair maiden, white and red, comb me smooth and stroke my head, and thou shalt have some cockle bread.
Yes. A second head comes up, full of gold, which she combs into her lap.
Gently dip, but not too deep, for fear thou make the golden beard to weep. Fair maid, white and red, comb me smooth and stroke my head. In every hair a sheath shall be, in every sheath a golden tree.
Oh, see, Corybus, I have combed a great deal of gold into my lap, and a great deal of corn.
Well said, wench. Now we shall have just enough. God send us coiners to coin our gold. But come, shall we go home, sweetheart?
Nay, come, Corybus, I will lead you.
So, Corybus, things are well hid. Thou hast gotten wealth to mend thy wit.
And they exit. So we have the same problem in reverse for this one, especially in this scene. They've already previously met off stage to save time. But in this case, Booby / Corybus has he's the one who is blind in this instance, so he doesn't see what Celanta is doing with the giant head. I mean, it's not phallic at all. Any of this, it's not rude. There's definitely nothing obscene about stroking a giant head and ears corn coming off. It's fine. Anyway, it's very difficult to get that across on audio. So it's exactly the same problem that we got previously, getting this across, but even more so. I think we're going to have to be very liberal with Madge here. I don't know if we can really get across what's going on here. And I also partly wonder, again, I have a sort of structural question whether we can move some stuff around, whether, I mean, it's useful to have it in between Eumenides scenes, but there's also part of me thinking keep sticking the two scenes of Zantippa and Celanta and keeping them as just one unit might be easier to make the audience follow what's going on. I'm uncertain of this thought, but it is still a thought in my mind that adding a slightly more linear structure to this might be helpful for a listener.
For an audio production, it does make sense, I guess. Yeah. It can be. It's very playable on stage, but for an audio production, you may be right. Yeah.
I mean, it creates this different structural problem, which is Eumenides sort of. There's all this sort of constant. Eumenides' sequence then becomes very, very long, and they sort of technically never get a chance to exit and then come back on again. They're sort of always doing that, but I think there might be a way to do that. Anyway, it's one for rehearsals. This, I think. Eric.
Well, I guess also it depends how you do it, because then if you double Celanta and Bowie, then it's quite complicated. But then if you don't, it's fine. But I think because you can fade in and fade out. You could, or well, since this is audio, you could record them separately and then mash them together, depending on it. Well, I mean, unless you want a live recording, in which case it's problem.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, with a live recording, there might be a structural issue of how the doubling works and who's, people standing up and sitting down to the mics, where eliding scenes together that way might be really helpful to simplify the movement on a relatively confused space. But then in the edit, we can do whatever we like with the recordings that we've got. So in a sense, actually, there's a suck it and see quality. If we've got the whole thing in a take, so long as nobody talks over themselves between scenes, we can move it around, keep it in the correct order for one version, and we do it in a different version for another. It's we have those options for the way we release this, because we always release a plain text version anyway, which would be a relatively simple version as writ, warts and all. So in that sense, we'll always release it like this. But for a casual listener who needs to follow it without, swatting up first, is that the more narratively straightforward way?
Well, I guess it preserves unity of place as well as unity of
Should the heads sing? I'm just wondering. Do we think they should be singing? Gently deep, but not too deep. I don't know.
You could use several voices in harmony, so that the head would an ethereal quality.
Not too deep. Anyway, I think we've identified the issues there. It's the fleetingness of it. This is the problem with this text: is that in a sense everything happens just and then it's over, and then we're off somewhere else, and its confusions are wonderful, but also not very helpful. Anyway, we're going to read on. Tiny short scene, then another scene, and we flit back and forth a bit. We'll remain with the same Ghost of Jack and Eumenides. Olga, could you read Sacripant? And that will get us reasonably far. Tom, could you be Delia coming up? And yeah, that gets us quite a long way until we get to first brother. Eric, you can be first brother, I'll be second brother, and that pretty much gets us, it's one long fiddly bit of action now, so we'll see how that goes. So Ghost of Jack and Eumenides, the Wandering Knight, enter. Who was Jack? Was that that was Anna Rose, wasn't it? Yes.
Come away, master, come.
Go along, Jack. I follow thee. Jack, they say it is good to go cross-legged and say prayers backwards. How sayest thou?
Never fear, master. Let me alone. Here sit you still, speak not a word, and because you shall not be enticed with his enchanting speeches, with this same wool I'll stop your ears. And so, master, sit still, for I must to the conjurer.
And exit the Ghost of Jack. Enter Sacripant the Conjurer to the Wandering Knight.
How now, what man art thou that sits so sad? Why dost thou gaze upon these stately trees without the leave and will of Sacripant? What, not a word but mum? Then Sacripant thou art betrayed.
Enter the ghost of Jack invisible, and take Sacripant's wreath from his head and sword from out of his hand.
What hand invades the head of Sacripant? What hateful fury doth envy my happy state? Then, Sacripant, these are thy latest days. Alas, my veins are numbed, my sinews shrink, my blood is pierced, my breath fleeting away, and now my timeless date is come to end. He in whose life his acts have been so foul, now in his death to hell descends his soul.
And Sacripant dieth. Okay, we've got some details here, which are quite fiddly and complicated again. So, okay, the Ghost of Jack does say, with this same wool, I'll stop your ears. We just need a little bit of, careful there.
He doesn't say with this same wool, I'll stop. He says with this same wool, stop your ears.
I've got I'll stop your ears here.
Oh, interesting. Different textual difference then.
It should be. It's the same file I sent out. So I don't know why it should be in every. Is that in everybody else's version? I'll stop your ears.
And
there was a missing I'll earlier, which I have put in.
So you can also, an easy edit to make things clearer is, for the Ghost of Jack's first lines, "Come away, master, come," he could say, "Now are we near the conjurer," or "Now are we near Sacripant's lair," or something.
Yeah, exposition of location.
And that gives Eumenides a reason to be scared in his next line, because the walking cross-legged and saying prayers backwards are things you do to keep magic away.
Yeah. And exposition to location there. Yes, that's important because we need a place. Sacripant, we get all sorts of magical things. Madge can basically narrate the taking of the wreath. As addition, I mean, is there in the dialogue, but I do think that maybe what we need is an excited Madge at this point of just going, oh, he's and then I do also feel that Sacripant now needs to overact enormously. I think there's something very Wizard of Oz here of I'm melting kind of quality to Sacripant at this point. Sound effects galore as Sacripant dieth. Eric, you're waving.
Yeah, that's basically what I was thinking of, the sort of the scene in Casper, the film, where you go like sort of the three ghosts going, I'm melting, and then they appear the next day, which is kind of, next night, which is just hilarious.
Okay, so we've had this dramatic moment. Ghost of Jack continues.
Oh, sir, are you gone? Now I hope we shall have some other coil. Now, master, how you like this? The conjurer, he is dead, and vows never to trouble us more. Now get you to your fair lady, and see what you can do with her. Oh, alas, he heareth me not all this while, but I will help that.
And he pulls the wool out of Eumenides' ears.
Oh, how now, Jack? What news?
Here, master, take this sword, and dig with it at the foot of this hill.
And he gives the sword, and he digs. That's very helpful. Thank you for giving us the stage direction, the action there in the dialogue. Well done, Ghost of Jack. Anyway, digs and spies a light.
How now, Jack? What is this?
Master, without this the conjurer could do nothing, and so long as this light lasts, so long doth his art endure, and this being out, then doth his art decay.
Oh, why, then, Jack, I will soon put out this light.
Aye, master, how?
Why, with a stone I'll break the glass and then blow it out.
No, master, you may as soon break the smith's anvil as this little vial, nor the biggest blast that ever Boreas blew cannot blow out this little light, but that she is neither maid, wife, nor widow. Master, wind this horn and see what will happen.
Gives horn, he winds the horn. Here enters Vernalia, the unspeaking character from earlier, who needs a special sound effect music cue so that we know it's the same person, who comes in, Madge may say all of this, and breaks the glass and blows out the light and goeth in again.
So, master, how like you this? This is she that ran madding in the woods, his betrothed love that keeps the cross. And now, this light being out, all are restored to their former liberty. And now, master, to the lady you have so long looked for.
He draweth a curtain, or maybe other sound effect available, and there Delia sitteth asleep.
Godspeed, fair maid, sitting alone. There is once. Godspeed, fair maid. There is twice. Godspeed, fair maid. That is thrice.
Not so good, sir, for you are by.
Enough, master, she hath spoke. Now I will leave her with you.
And exit Jack.
Thou fairest flower of these western parts, whose beauty so reflecteth in my sight as doth a crystal mirror in the sun. For thy sweet sake I've crossed the frozen Rhine. Leaving fair Po, I sailed up Danube as far as Saba, whose enhancing streams cut twixt the Tartars and the Russians. These have I crossed for thee, fair Delia. Then grant me that which I have sued for long.
Thou gentle knight, whose fortune is so good, to find me out and set my brothers free, my faith, my heart, my hand I give to thee.
Thanks, gentle madam. Oh, but here comes Jack. Thank him, for he is the best friend that we have.
Enter the ghost of Jack with a head in his hand.
Ah, how now, Jack? What hast thou there?
Marry, master, the head of the conjurer.
Oh, why, Jack, that is impossible. He was a young man.
Ah, master, so he deceived them that beheld him. But he was a miserable old and crooked man, though to each man's eye he seemed young and fresh. For, master, this conjurer took the shape of the old man that kept the cross, and that old man was in the likeness of the conjurer. But now, master, wind your horn.
Winds his horn again. Enter Venalia, the two brothers, and Orestes.
Welcome, Orestes, welcome, fair Venelia, welcome, Thalea and Khalifa both. Now have I her that I so long have sought, so saith fair Delia, if we have your consent.
No.
Stick to the script.
I mean, have they met? Anyway, actually, they haven't met before. Anyway, valiant Eumenides, thou well deservest to have our favors. So let us rejoice that by thy means we are in liberty. Here may we joy in each and other's sight, and this fair lady have her wandering night.
So, master, now you think you have done. But I must have a saying to you. You know, you and I were partners, I to have half in all you got.
Oh, why, so thou shalt, Jack.
Why then, master, draw your sword, part your lady, let me have half of her presently.
Why, I hope, Jack, thou dost but jest. I promised thee half I got, but not half my lady.
But what else, master? Have you not gotten her? Therefore divide her straight, for I will have half, there is no remedy.
Well, ere I will falsify my word unto my friend, take her all. Here, Jack, I'll give her thee.
Nay, neither more nor less, master, but even just half.
Oh, before I will falsify my faith unto my friend, I will divide her. Jack, thou shalt have half.
Be not so cruel unto our sister, gentle knight.
Oh, spare fair Delia, she deserves no death.
Content yourselves, my word is passed to him. Therefore prepare thyself, Delia, for thou must die.
Then farewell, world. Adieu, Eumenides.
He offers to strike, and the ghost of Jack stays him.
Thank you, master. It is sufficient I have tried your constancy. Do you now remember since you paid for the buying of a poor fellow?
Very well, Jack.
Then, master, thank that good deed for this good turn, and so God be with you all.
Leaps down into the ground.
Jack, what art thou gone? Then farewell, Jack. Come, brothers, and my beauteous Delia, Sorry about the splitting in half thing. Arrest us and thy dear Venelia. We will to Thessaly with joyful hearts.
Agreed.
Agreed.
We follow
We
thee.
follow thee,
And
Delia.
Delia. Exit everybody apart from the storytellers. But we'll pause there because there's a lot to take in. And there is an important thing that we can't use Madge in this scene. Most of it's very self-explanatory. They explain it as it goes along. We just need to add a few more additional signifiers. So, Mary, Master, the head of the conjurer, Sacropant. Because, of course, the thing is, Jack comes in with the head of Sacropant and then does this whole vault face of going, oh, but it was the old man at the cross all along. And it's like going, what? Hang on. Oh, him? What? From the beginning? That was Sacropant? Oh. And it's because Madge has fallen asleep. And the story is just sort of falling apart. And then we get this drama. And I love this bit. I do. It's so silly. I mean, it's a moment of genuine drama. You know, well, that was the deal. I get half. That's the deal. But I do love the way that Delia just goes, oh, well, farewell, world. It's like, no, nobody here sort of does it. So it needs to be ridiculously over the top. If that doesn't get a massive laugh at that point for just being so unbelievably stupid, then I will be very disappointed. But yes, I don't think there's a problem there. It's very straightforward. Sound effect kind of pulling out sword. And then Jack stopping him. Kind of thing. So that's actually very easy. We've done this already with Abraham and Isaac, so that holds no terrors for me. Leaps down into the ground. Jack needs a disappearing sound effect, but that's okay. Again, Eumenides. Everybody explains what's going on actually very helpfully here. It's all very, very clear. And unless anyone disagrees. Anyone having any problems understanding this sequence? Anything anyone thinks we should add into it? Any additional exposition? Any additional sound effects I haven't brought up?
Well, is this on the cliff again, or is this like at the Sacropant's lair? Because like I seem to remember the first brother and the second brother had met Eumenides like on the cliff where like I don't know, they were describing like white cliffs and stuff when they first met in the first encounter.
I
don't know
think
why
this
I
is
remember
at his house. You know, Sacropant's lair. All of this action seems to follow that. They thing. We need to figure out, of course, obviously, Venelia entering, breaking the glass. She need, as we were saying earlier, we need a clear oral cue for who Venelia is. I almost tempted to have Venelia run in and out a few additional times throughout the play, just as a thing. Just to remind everyone that it's Venelia. She's gone round the planet again.
Well, it's either that or just like sort of this is the Foley artist sort of we have spare for the purposes of this play.
But I say we cannot use Madge for this sequence. The last point of that we could use Madge is for Venelia, and after that she's out of play. And the reason for that is you'll find out in a second. Liza, if you could be Madge. Tom, can you be Fantastic? And Olga, can you be Frolic? Everybody exits apart from Frolic, Fantastic, and Madge.
What, Gamma, asleep?
By the mass, son, 'tis almost day, and my window is shut at the cock crow.
Do you hear, Gemma? Methinks this Jack bore a great sway amongst them.
Oh, man, this was the ghost of the poor man that they kept such a coil to bury, and that makes him to help the wandering knight so much. But come, let us in. We will have a cup of ale and a toast this morning, and so depart.
Then you have made an end of your tale, Gamma?
Yes, faith, when this was done, I took a piece of bread and cheese and came my way, and so shall you have too before you go to your breakfast.
And they all go on and have breakfast.
It's a delicious part of this nutritious breakfast.
Yes. Thunk onto the table goes another disgusting breakfast from Madge. we can have some morning bird song and things there. We need Gamma snoring before the scene comes up. Really, I think there needs to be very demonstrative snoring from Madge. And and they all go. We might be able to reuse a bit of this. This was the ghost of the poor man that kept such a coil to bury, and things. What I like about Madge's talking about the ghost is explaining at the end of like, oh, did you get it was the ghost? It's almost like, in case you didn't get it, he was the ghost of the thing at the thing at the thing, and I quite like that of just because Madge tells this story very, very badly. But yeah, that's fairly straightforward. And then then the show ends. Closing continuity announcements. Any thoughts? Any additional thoughts on the play, Eric?
So, weren't they in her house to sort of, or because
the whole thing is technically inside her house? Yes.
Because she goes, "Come, let's in," and I'm guessing that means further into the house, or is that just like sort of "come, let's in" as in like let's go off stage?
Well, both. I mean, basically, the kitchen will be off to go through the door as they exit. Yeah,
I see.
They'll go to the kitchen. Presumably, they're in the parlor or something.
I do like how she has opening hours. My window's shut at the cockscrew.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Final thoughts in the room? Anyone want to throw anything in before I close? In many ways, we had the two most fiddly bits of the play. The Juanabango and his man. The completion of their plotline is the most difficult to realise of the entire play, I think, actually. Everything else mostly is explained in the dialogue, even if it's obliquely explained, and we're adding things just for clarity and just make sure that things. That's the bit where we kind of just have to explain what's going on because it's almost incomprehensible what's going on without it. I mean, I'd say we'd cut it, but the play is so short, we can't afford to cut anything from the production because it will just get too short. I mean, it's also got some problematic dialogue in that bit, and the whole concept of that little sequence is a bit ableist. So we could cut it, but then we'd cut the big giant heads, and I like the big giant heads because they're obscene.
Well, we can talk about potential cuts.
Yeah, I mean, there will be a version which will have all the dialogue, but the final edit will be what is the most entertaining. That's the rule that we have. So we could do that. But as I say, I mean, for the live show that we're planning, there's going to be a talk back afterwards. We'll get the plan is to have an so people won't be shortchanged of an evening. So, but I don't want the Old Wives' Tale to be cut down too much because, as I say, it is already very short. Tom.
I think Madge is crucial. And strangely, I thought I'd forgotten who Madge was, and I thought you were referring to Madonna. So, and I think she would be excellent in the role myself. Yeah.
Well, I'll send an availability check to her agent and see what happens. I suspect that will be a no. But you never know. You never know. Any other thoughts before I close the session, Eric?
I'm just wondering if you could elide Booby and Corbus, which would make it weirder and somehow funnier, maybe. But I don't know.
I would be up for changing for having her name's gone, not Zantippa, the sister, Celanta. For having Celanta refer to him as Booby throughout, because saying the word Booby is inherently funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of these things. There's a separate character who's clearly not the same character as the clown who follows Juanabango. He is referred to as Booby once. And it seems that something's gone wrong in the textual transmission that they ended up sort of being elided as the same person, but it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, we would make a further editorial decision to change his name to Booby throughout. And I
Because
think
the rest of the play makes anyway. Yeah.
yeah. So it's presumably they're doubled or something like that. That's why it happened. That there's something went wrong in the naming. The actor remembered it was the same person. Okay, any other thoughts? Otherwise, I will go to close this session. We've highlighted many of the problems we sort of were expecting, but it's always really helpful to talk through them. There are so many delightful things in this, a few of the more problematic things in this, but mostly the kind of stuff that still does transmit reasonably well to today, and I'm sure we can find more analogues and things. Transferring things to audio is a very specialist problem, and this particular play is the one that both embraces it and rejects it the most, I think, than many other narrative stories where things are much more straightforward. So it's been very helpful to do this. There will be a full cast audio adaptation of this, and in fact live staged versions anon as well. That is the plan, because it's very much a favourite. So all that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye.